This is TWiT.
I'm really excited because I have something that I'm really excited to show off.
Yes, absolutely. So this is the Xbox Adaptive Controller. And when we're talking about kind of niche controllers, this is something special because this is really designed to be all about accessibility, right?
Exactly.
People who maybe their bodily condition, their situation makes it so that they can't hold on to a traditional controller, but they're still gaming fans. They still want to play these games. This enables that.
Yeah, I was really fortunate to go to Microsoft's campus when they were unveiling this months ago, and it only launched at Microsoft stores, either online or in person, a few weeks ago since we taped this, so middle of August. And what I would say is, you look at this controller and you see some familiar Xbox things. You've got a D-pad and you've got an A button and a B button, and you might say to yourself, well, where's the rest of the controller? Well, lucky us, in terms of this camera angle we already have here, we have all of the other buttons are represented as 3.5mm ports. And you can see these labels here, Y, X, B, A. There's one for the clicking of a joystick, the start and select buttons, so on and so forth. But you might say to yourself, well, what do I do at that point? Well, lucky me, I've got something with a 3.5mm cable. This right here, which is now tangled in another cord, is a finger switch. This guy right here is a very simple on-off, just click of any button. So let's say I want to play a game, but I only have one good hand. I mean, that's a perfectly common situation depending on the player.
Right.
Microsoft was very nice to provide me this new Xbox Nunchuck. This works with the adaptive controller. You can't plug it into a computer or other Xbox in order to get the functionality. You're going to need the adaptive controller to make it work. But it looks very similar to the Wii Nunchuck. You've got one joystick, it does not click down, and you've got two buttons. Now, when you plug this in on this side here, it says L. That's for the left joystick. We're going to plug that in, and now we have one joystick, two buttons, two more buttons. And then let's say you still only have one good hand and you just want to be able to press the trigger down. I've picked the right trigger slot right there. And now with one hand, I potentially have, joystick, possibly three buttons. You might have to press this against your cheek or against your head. And then these little guys right here are very strong. I can pound on these with an elbow. So again, we're in sort of a one-handed situation. What's nice is, though, if you press down on that, you feel a pretty solid click, but you also can press very lightly to get the action. So if you want to bang on it, great, and if you want to just barely tap it, you can do that. This will work with Windows 10 and Xbox One systems right out of the box, and it'll work with anything that recognizes an Xbox One controller. Yep. So if you've got the right drivers, you can get this going on Linux, on Mac. I'm not sure about smartphones necessarily, but you have those options.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on smartphones in here.
It's well, because they don't advertise that officially. But the fact that it essentially just doubles as an Xbox One controller, and a ton of things already kind of recognize that you have to jerry-rig. I just think it's a remarkable thing. I actually just went to Seattle Children's Hospital recently and just was able to work with this kid who only had one good hand. And he sat down, he was bummed out. He's, in a therapeutic rehab sort of situation based on his disabilities. And he was able to grab this one nunchuck and have his one bad hand that could flip down on one of these buttons, and was able to play a racing game, and the smile that lit up on his face melted every single custodian in the room. It was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it.
That's awesome.
But you also, the interesting thing is, that's enabling someone who might not play, but you may also find some use out of this in your own gaming. This is $100 for these two buttons. Now, just getting two buttons alone might cost you $100, but this comes with both Bluetooth and Xbox Wireless as protocols. You can also wire it with USB Type-C, and it just plays nicely with that Xbox Accessories app we were talking about, so that you can go in and customize all of the way that the buttons go. You can have three different profiles. That's got this little indicator right here that you can create three custom profiles. So instead of having to switch jacks in and out of the back, you can say, oh, here's my racing setup, here's my platforming one, my fighting one. It's not perfect. You really do need to get extra pieces, and that can get expensive. Like if you only have your mouth and head to use, you might need to get a big button to bonk your head against. You might need to get a biting tube or a blowing tube. Those are out there, they're specialized, they're expensive, but there's options out there. But ultimately, I just think it's cool both to enable people who wouldn't play and to give people who do play just a couple of extra big buttons to potentially do some weird stuff with, to go, you know what, maybe I want to have a certain action that's like tappable with my foot for a reasonable price that works with standard gaming systems.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain degree, it's very similar to what we were showing off in some ways.
Absolutely.
With the Scuff and the Xbox Elite controller having these kind of assignable extra things that aren't standard. But hey, if you're an advanced gamer and you're getting deep into gameplay and you know it's going to make you a more efficient player to assign things to a separate controller that you can tap with your foot, that's amazing.
And this works with Copilot on Xbox and Windows, meaning that you can have a standard controller and this. So maybe you were already handicapped using one controller, and this just gives you a couple more options with the controller you already had. So it's really cool. I think anybody who gets any sort of delight about hearing about this should really look it up. At $100, that's a great price. Microsoft's not looking to make money. They're looking for reputation, and good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And serving a community, I mean, everybody wants to be able to play these games. Games are not easy to play, even for people who are able-bodied, you know, with these controllers. Just opening the playing field and giving other options. I mean, I guarantee you, at some point in the near future, we're going to see people with very limited mobility using these and surprising people at how well they play these games that you just kind of assume wouldn't be possible.
There's a Twitch community out there that already streams using standard stuff and special weird proprietary stuff, but it tends to require these hubs that require their own drivers being installed and all this extra crap. And this streamlines it, especially if you're a custodian who doesn't know how games work. This won't magically make it easy for a custodian to turn a game on, but it's absolutely reducing the barrier to entry.